Tide 100.9 HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take it. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show can also be found on your social media networks under Martin Houston Speaks on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can follow us on those various channels, and we invite you to interact with us at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That is the Alabama One hotline, live, local, and ready for business. Go ahead and add us to your conversation and your morning. 205-342-9904. That is the Alabama One hotline that's open for business. We got a great show lined up for you morning, and we'll talk about what all Alabama has coming up in terms of recruiting, as we'll bring Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting, into the conversation to kick off the second half for you to get in on the conversation and talk with us about what's going on in your world. We had a little carryover from yesterday. We had a question around juniors playing in the Senior Bowl. We can address that this morning as well. If you want to bring that topic back up, did get a little bit more information. We also we didn't get to talk about Would You Rather, but part of my conversation that I was going to have on the Would You Rather conversation on yesterday was going to be related to, would you rather have Will Anderson for you to have Mr. Keon Keeley for the next 3 years? And of course, what brought that up is Mr. Pat making a statement that he'd rather have Keon Keeley next year because Alabama's going to need help. How crazy does that sound? But hey, Pat said it. He can call up and defend it if you want to. But did Will Anderson, with the latest round of voting and polling, if you want to throw a little true false in on a Thursday, did he solidify or make the statement to be the GOAT at Alabama, doing something that no one else has ever done in the history of Alabama football? We'll talk about that in just a moment. He has reached a pinnacle that no other player has reached with all the great players that Alabama has had. So does that make him the GOAT? And so, you can talk to us about it if you want to. And then young wide receiver from Sarah Land, calling out the guys going into the portal. Do you like it or not? Making a statement that these guys that are going into the portal. It's interesting that these guys are going into the portal. Hey, are they going in there because they don't want to compete and they don't want to put in the work and put in the grind? That's Mr. Ryan Williams. As one of your future players, do you like the fact that this superstar 10th grader is calling out the current players who have left your team? And then, of course, Reggie Ragland jumping on that same bandwagon, making a statement. Hey, if they don't want to be at Alabama, tell them to get the blank out of town. So we're going to talk about all of that. You may have something you want to bring to the conversation. You can do that once again by adding it in chat and or call and say 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. Let's bring in my co-host and partner, Xavier. Good morning, sir. How you doing? Welcome into the day. What's on your mind?
Good morning. Doing well. I think that's an interesting topic to question if Will Anderson is now the greatest Alabama football player, greatest defensive player, and I just can't agree with that.
You can or can't?
Can't.
So who you giving it to?
You got to give it to DT. You know, just the stories I've heard growing up from you, from other people, the little bit that I remember watching him as a pro. Man, that guy was something special, something different. And you're talking about as great as Will Anderson was the last 2 years, sacks and everything like that. That was Derek's senior year. I mean, how can a guy be the greatest? And I know he's got a lot of the awards and things of that nature, but you're talking about a guy that in a single season, in a non-passing era, had 27 sacks in a single season. I can't overlook that.
27 sacks.
All-American awards. He has trophies. I mean, it's hard to beat.
Well, first of all, he had 27 sacks in 22 games. He had more than 27 sacks. I mean, in 11 games.
Yeah.
There was no SEC championship game. There was no playoff games. So, and there was only 11 regular season games. So, it'd be. I've never went back and looked at. Derek played in 30, probably 30 something games. What his numbers are for 30 something games, but Will's still making a statement though. It's still quite a mountaintop. Will Anderson accomplished something this season that no other Alabama player in the program history has done, becoming the first player ever to earn unanimous All-American status in multiple seasons when he was selected this past Wednesday on yesterday. So first one ever. So that's still a pretty high accomplishment to reach that pinnacle. But
Oh, he's number 2. He's number 2 on the defensive side of the ball. He is down. He might be number 2 overall. You know, you look at what, as far as accomplishments, you have Derrick Henry and a Heisman and a Doak Walker. You have what Devontae was able to do as a wide receiver. The only reason Bryce gets a knock is because Bryce doesn't have a national championship as a starter. Otherwise, he would be probably number 2 in my book. You know, but I mean, it's hard to beat what Derrick did in that era. So yeah.
You forgot Barrett Jones. If you just
Barrett Jones.
Well, yeah, but see, Barrett Jones is a guy that He has the most. He's the most decorated. I think Will's putting him close. Putting it kind of close in terms of I'm sorry. I just had a text come in. I was reading it. So a chat statement come in. But anyway, when you look at Barrett, he's a guy that got a lot of awards, but Barrett Jones would not be, from a talent standpoint, he wouldn't be one of the guys I would take as one of my top 5 offensive linemen. So, but he's one of the most decorated, and Will may have passed him with what he just did this past week or so, but they're kind of close. Curtis Lewis saying DT Biscuit, then maybe Will. Biscuit was nasty. I think Will is probably more in line with some of Cornelius's style of play than maybe he was probably more like Cornelius than he was like DT. But this is the thing. I think DT would be most dominant. If DT, in my opinion, would be even more dominant in today's game. I don't know that Cornelius would be more dominant if he came into today's game, and I don't know that Will would be any more dominant if he went into that era. That makes sense. I think DT, I would say without a doubt, would be more dominant in today's game. And the reason I say that, well, let me say it carefully. Cornelius would be absolutely unblockable when it came to run blocking in today's game, probably because these linemen today are not very good run blockers. So Cornelius, I don't know that he'd be a better pass rusher, but he would be probably an even more dominant run stopper at an outside linebacker. And with the hybrid, I have to rethink this a little bit, X. I talked myself out of it. With the way they played Will some with this hybrid defensive end, Cornelius might just, be more dominant. Will, on the other hand, would he be a more dominant pass rusher back in the day? That's a thought. I think without a doubt, though, there's zero question. Derek Thomas would have 40 sacks, man, in a 15-game season.
Unblockable.
Think about that. If you take 11 sacks, 27 sacks in 11 games, that's at 2.5 a game almost. And so 15 times 2.5 is what, 36, something like that, 35, whatever it is. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's what Will would have had to do all right, let's get the break here. We'll come back on the other side. I do want to talk about this statement by Ryan Williams, the 2025 commit, as well as Reggie Ragland and his statement when it comes to Alabama and these guys who are hitting the portal. And then, of course, we got Hank South 247 Sports. Tennessee has beaten Alabama twice in the same year, and they probably hadn't beaten us once in the last 15. We're going to talk about what that means and more coming back on the other side.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a wreck on US 82 eastbound at Round Oak Drive in Duncanville. We got reports of storm debris coming in, so just watch out for that on the roadways. If you see other conditions, of course, give me a call. Here's a special Christmas deal from Townsend Nissan, $2,000 off every in-stock Armada, Murano, or let them go at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
It's the Tuscaloosa Community Calendar, powered by Pepsi.
Looking for ways to give this holiday season? Be sure to support the wonderful children of the Benjamin Barnes YMCA. There is an angel tree set up for them at the Central Branch YMCA. Just select an angel from that tree, remove the tag, purchase the items, and return your wrapped gifts. By following these few steps, you can help a child have a Oncemas by supporting the wonderful children of the Benjamin Barnes YMCA.
Have you been naughty or nice this year? Cash don't care. At Jackson Hewitt, you could still get up to $4,500 for the holidays. Some bucks now, more bucks in January. So be naughty. Snap up all the ginger snaps. Wear a pretty sweater to an ugly sweater holiday party. You could still get up to $4,500 when you go to Jackson Hewitt today. Details at jacksonhewitt.com. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance and is backed by an entire team of people you know and trust. Rent a Toyota and let's go places. Reserving yours is a breeze at TuscaloosaToyota.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky becoming mostly sunny today. Tuscaloosa's high 57. Clear tonight, the low at 34. Tomorrow, another sunny day, the high 55. Colder Saturday with a mixture of clouds and sunshine. The high in the upper 40s at 49. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 45 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit him online at sophmarkdesign.com.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. All right. Hey, let me tell you something crazy. You know, a lot of people you hear talk about when Peyton Manning didn't win the Heisman.
The Heisman.
Yeah, to Rod, whatever name, not Rod Woodson, Charles Woodson. I played with Rod up at the Steelers. Charles Woodson. What's the guy's name that's played with the Patriots? That Teddy Bruschi or whatever his name is. Yeah, he. I think he won some awards over Derek Thomas. Coming out of college. I don't know if you guys realize that. Like that's why Derek didn't win, have all of the things that all these awards, was because they gave him several awards. I think he was the guy that was coming out during that time. If I'm remembering, that's going back into my old Rolodex about 30 plus years, but I think he was a guy that upset Derek Thomas on a couple of awards. Hey, but we got a caller we want to get to, so let's get to Alan. Alan, you're in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir? Is Alan still there?
Alan would appear to have disappeared.
All right. Sorry about that, Alan. Give us a call back if you can. 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. Like to hear what you had to say. So we'll bring you into the conversation. But X, when you look at
He was Tracy Rocker.
Huh? No. Tracy won from awards. I was just talking about as a linebacker. Tracy was a defensive tackle. And Tracy Rocker was a beast. But I'm talking about in the linebacker category.
Okay.
Yeah. Tracy Rocker was a beast at Auburn.
He won the Lombardi and all.
Yeah. Yep. So he probably deserved it. He was a disruptor, to say the least. But what do you think about the young sophomore from Saraland, already committed to the Crimson Tide, 2025 recruit, calling out the guys who are in the portal in terms of young Ryan Williams saying that the Alabama guys that's hitting the portal, they're just afraid of the competition, pretty much is what he said. And and they don't want to put in the grind and the work and compete. Like it or not like it?
I mean, I love it from a young kid that's showing that he wants to come in and compete and be the best. I mean, because he's an Auburn legacy, so him going to Alabama is already a big deal. When he definitely has a spot at home, being the caliber of player he is. But he's not wrong. Some of it is competition. Some of it is, when you bring in a guy, as Coach Saban said, if we go to the portal, that guy's better than what we have. It's kind of hard not to. I understand both sides of it.
Yeah. Both sides of what? What's the other side? You just said both sides. What other side? What you mean? You understand?
I understand where he's coming from. Guys not wanting to compete, but I also understand that especially like at the wide receiver position, that seems like we've been real heavy in the portal there more than anywhere else. 3 guys in 2 years, and you're saying, hey, this guy's better than anybody we have. This year, I think there was some competition, and I think they tried to force Burton to be the guy when we should have looked elsewhere. But if you're telling me that this guy's better and he's already got a foot in the door as a starter and he hasn't proven anything at Alabama.
Oh, this wasn't about him saying he was better. He's saying, to me, what he's saying is, I expect to come to Alabama to have to compete and to have to work and to have to grind to get on the field. That's what I say. And Curtis Lewis saying this kid doesn't know snot from rocks. I have a totally different perception than I guess what you guys have in that sense. Yeah, I mean, I look at it and go, okay, here's a 10th grader who, to me, that's the type of guy you want coming in. One that's saying, hey, listen, if you go to Alabama, you should come to Alabama expecting to have to compete and grind and work. Aiden, is that what you read into his statement, or you think he's, speaking arrogantly and out of place for a 10th grader?
I think it's easy to look at it as a little arrogant and out of place, but I think, when you're a football player of the level that Ryan Williams is, you got to have a little bit of cockiness to your game. I mean, that's part of the mentality of football. So no, I love it. And I love that these kids that are in high school now are watching this NIL transfer portal transition happen and deciding which side of the fence they want to sit on well before they come to school, rather than, get into school and be like, all right, well, let me try this out. Let me hop in the portal and destabilize the program.
Yeah, I think it's like for me, I thought it was really like I said, it can be perceived as arrogant, and in some ways, let's be truthful, it probably is, right? It probably is to some degree a little arrogance. And that's kind of unusual for Alabama wide receiver. Y'all know we talked about that. our wide receivers haven't really had that prima donna attitude in our history. So that part is a little interesting. But the other side to me is, why do we think, X, I'll let you go first. Why do we think these wide receivers are going into the portal?
I think it is competition. I think it is using the portal, and that's why I think the portal can be a good thing and a bad thing. You know, I said I was going to bring this up, Aiden, like talking about Grayson McCall, just as an example. If you like Ty, if you like Jalen, if you put your eggs in the basket with one of these two kids coming in, and Eli Holstein and Dylan Lonergan, bringing a transfer quarterback in now in 2022, 2023 is a lot different era than 2013, 2014, bringing in a guy like Jake Coker.
Yeah.
Where we talked about the other day of, you know, even Tim Williams, who said this, he said if the portal was around in 2013 when we came in, none of us would have won anything because all of us were talking about leaving. And it's a different ballgame when you have to go sit down in front of Coach Saban and go, hey, Coach, I don't think things are working out. I'm going to leave, versus you put your name in the portal on your own. You don't even have to talk to Coach Saban.
Yeah. But Aiden, why do you think these kids are jumping in the portal? The wide receivers specifically? Because that's who he was talking to. We can say he was talking to the wide receivers.
Well, honestly, I think it might be a bit. It's definitely not wanting to compete sort of deal. You know, not feeling like there's a fit the offensive coordinator or Holloman Wiggins, perhaps as much as they thought there would be. I think it also could be an indictment of the quarterbacks that are on this football team that aren't named Bryce Young. I think it's entirely possible that they see Ty Simpson and Jalen Milroe every day in practice. They see what they see on the field that we've seen from them this season, and they say, I can't make myself look like an NFL caliber wide receiver catching balls from these guys. I've got to go somewhere where, you know, maybe am I going to win a national championship? Probably not, but I can go showcase my talents with a competent quarterback. Which is why I feel like, you know, is it maybe the best thing for your program long term to bring in somebody like Grayson McCall? Maybe not. Perhaps, you know, we can have that debate till the cows come home. We wouldn't really know unless we did it. But it might be the thing that you need to not go 8-4, 9-3 next season and actually still have a chance of winning the college football playoff. Because picture this team without Bryce Young this year. It doesn't win 10 games. You need an elite quarterback with the lack of depth and talent that this roster shows right now.
But that's the wide receiver. That's on the wide receivers as well. If you're saying the lack of talent, that means the wide receivers are the lack of talent. The tight ends are the lack of talent. The running backs, the wide receivers.
And do you think Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson can mask that deficiency? I definitely don't think so. It's possible.
Let me ask you this. Hold on. We saw what Jalen Milroe did when he came in the Arkansas game, right? Right. Okay. So that showed you that when you don't have a Bryce Young, you run offense different. Okay. If Stetson Bennett was Alabama's quarterback, would Alabama have ended up 10-2 this year? Yes, because we would have ran a different style of offense. I mean, let's be real. Would Georgia be undefeated with Bryce Young? Yes. What I'm saying is Bryce covered up a lot of deficiency, but Bill O'Brien created a lot of that with the way he calls games. We saw in the Auburn game that we could be a different style running team if we in offense that them could have played, could have used, could have done. But to your point, I don't know what they see. But the thing of it is, these guys, and we're gonna have to get the break because of Hank, and we can pick this conversation up on the other side. But the reality of it is, these guys aren't coming. I mean, they don't have a guarantee that where they go, they're going to have a quarterback that's worth anything. They hadn't seen those guys at all. You know, what's his name? We assume that Trayshawn Holden's going to Oregon, and that may mean that Bo Nix is coming back, but it may not be. Leary going to UCF,
that's a step down.
Yeah. So I don't know that that's what it is. As much as it is, they did not play as much as they wanted to. Let's just be real. If these guys were playing, if Trayshawn Holden doesn't get benched and beat out by freshmen, he's still here. Let's be real. He was a starter, and as the season went along, he dropped some balls, he got worse, and he left because he knew that probably coming back, these other guys are going to end up better. I don't think that McCall's coming here anyway, but I think Liberty and a lot of people are putting them down to Auburn. Yeah, one guy said, I'm glad these wide receivers are hitting the portal because it gives us an opportunity to replace them with someone with the right attitude. And I think that's what this young man was saying. We also had another Alabama player that made some statements in Ragland. We had a situation X. You can bring it up with Hank South regarding Tennessee beating Alabama again. So we'll see what all happens. In terms of Tennessee and recruiting moving forward. But we got Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online recruiting coming up next. Love the conversation, love the intensity, love the opinions. You can give them right here each and every day on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier.
This is a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update.
I'm Kim Rankin with your Tide Sports Update. The Alabama men's basketball team beat the Memphis Tigers 91-88 on Tuesday night. Alabama guard Namari Burnett is out 6 to 8 weeks with a wrist injury. Former Alabama kicker and punter Jack Martin is transferring to Houston.
This has been a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update. Run it again! For more info on these stories and more, download the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a wreck on US 82 eastbound at Round Oak Drive in Duncanville. We got reports of storm debris coming in, so just watch out for that on the roadways. If you see other conditions, of course, give me a call. Here's a special Christmas deal from Townsend Nissan, $2,000 off every in-stock Armada, Murano, or let them go at Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
A Fincher and Osmond Christmas wish from Tom Osmond.
I wish your family peace and good health. I wish you a season of generosity and grace. At Christmas, we celebrate each other and celebrate the day God came to us as a man. My wish for you are the things he taught us: charity, service to others, forgiveness, and loving your neighbor. I'd like to wish a Merry Christmas from our family at Fincher and Osmond to yours.
Merry Christmas from Fincher and Osmond.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on this Thursday morning. We are joined by Hank South of 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, how you doing this morning?
Hey, Xavier, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. So we're 6 days out from early signing day. This has been a hit and a miss week for Alabama. Of course, getting five-star Keon Keeley over the likes of Notre Dame, Florida, and Ohio State. What is he going to bring to this class?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard menace used as the descriptor for him. He's just a big time defensive player, edge rusher. Powerful, explosive, has length. You turn on his tape, and I mean, he's just destroying people. So, he's the perfect kind of guy. You can bring in the post Will Anderson era, and just keep chugging along. Him combined with Keeley combined with Yonze Pierre. That's kind of that's pretty much what Will Anderson and Dallas Turner are, or have the potential to be. Now maybe even I'm not going to say better because Will Anderson's been pretty spectacular, but to come in and continue having a lot of success at that position. So Keon Keeley is a huge get. It's been trending to Bama since he decommitted from Notre Dame back in the summer. Just kind of took a little bit longer than we originally anticipated, but eventually Bama did get the good news it was looking for with Keeley as he committed earlier this week. And so, yeah, just a huge addition that really can't be understated.
Hank, before you move on from Keeley, there's been like I heard people compare him to Will Anderson and Dallas. To me, just looking at film on him and his frame, he looks like Myles Garrett to me. Is who he's built like. Just long and athletic, look like he could put on another, 25, 30 pounds and it would not affect his athletic ability or not. Have any of your recruiting guys or recruiting especially made that comparison?
I haven't heard Myles Garrett. I think that is a really good comparison now that you say that, especially with his size. There's people that think he's going to, the recruiting pitch against Bama was, you're probably just going to end up a defensive lineman. But Bama doesn't plan to use him as defensive lineman. He's an edge rusher type prospect that they want to utilize at that spot. So I like the Garrett comparison. With that size, and he's just his tape is just play after play. He's just blowing back the offensive tackles. They try to double team him, and he's not. Is not really any use. He's just getting through guys really easily.
Yeah. And so the miss on this week is Arian Carter going to Tennessee. And this is a twofold question. How big of a loss is that? And is Alabama going to look at another linebacker late in this class?
Yeah, I mean, it's a loss. Bama wanted to add Arian Carter, and they're working to add another inside linebacker. So, I think that's still something they would like to do. They're still recruiting Centurion Perkins, who's committed to Ole Miss. He came out earlier this week or late last week and kind of reaffirmed his commitment to Ole Miss. So looks like he's going to stick with Ole Miss, but it's still recruiting. We'll see if anything happens there. Carter committed to Tennessee. That was, that really kind of trended more towards Tennessee the last, 72 hours. It was looking like Bama had a great shot. He was saying all the right things with Bama. People close to him felt Bama was in the lead. But
I got three letters for you, Hank. I got three letters for you. NIL. Yeah. Yeah, this is two. If this is 2 years ago or a year ago, and Alabama had trended and got this guy, because this kid went from a Memphis commit to one of the top dogs once Alabama put their eyes on him, and and he was trending toward Alabama, and they made that last in-home visit. That's the power of this new era of NIL, though. So I think Tennessee went in and was able to close the deal because after Saban and crew left, Tennessee had the last word, and all they had to do was ask mom and dad, how sweet is your deal at Alabama? We'll sweeten the pot. So,
right.
I'm not saying that happened, but I'm saying that happened.
Yeah, no, I think that was a big part of it, for sure. So, but to the question, will they, pursue another inside linebacker? I'm not going to rule it out. You look at a guy like Quay Rousseau, who's still, obviously a priority guy this next 6 days. He could potentially play inside. He's a guy that, he's ranked as an edge rusher too, but, has a lot of position versatility. Obviously Bama has Justin Jefferson committed, who's a big time player as well at the junior college level. But, I wouldn't rule out, maybe they look in the portal, but, maybe there's a situation where, that they find the guy they like, at the high school level that doesn't sign until February. So there's always a guy or two, at least at the prep level that, we see Bama, kick the tires on in January. So maybe that's the case this year, but, the only two guys we were really tracking at the inside linebacker spot right now were Carter and then Terry and Perkins. So we'll see who else, if anybody pops up.
All right, we're going to get to the phones real quick, and joining us on the Alabama One hotline is Pat. Pat, you're in the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier with Hank South.
Good morning. Hank, two sides of the ball, offensive and defensive line. That offensive line has been depleted. That with our one starter leaving. That have we heard anything else on the getting up to Iowa and bringing home Caden Proctor? Good gracious! That what's the latest on him and the guy from the East Coast that may be going to Miami?
5-star. He's actually announcing a commitment today at 3:00. He put Bama in his top 4, but I think it's pretty telling. We never saw Nick Saban go see him, during this contact period. So I think that's kind of an indicator that he's probably not going to commit to Alabama, barring anything unforeseen happening in the next few hours. I do think Miami's going to get him. I know Florida's making a big run at him as well. So, I think he'll end up at one of those two schools this afternoon. But Proctor, Bama's still on the flip side of, Nick Saban taking visits. Nick Saban used the first day to go up to Iowa to see Caden Proctor back, 2 weeks ago when the contact period started. So, they're still pushing for him. The communication remains ongoing. Eric Wolford's gone to see him. Freddie Roach has gone up to see him. So, they're still in play for Caden Proctor. The Iowa side, they believe they're going to hang on to him, but, Bama, Oregon, and Colorado got into the mix recently too for him. They're all, pressing for him. And, obviously Iowa didn't have the best year on offense. But again, Iowa also develops offensive linemen. So I don't know. There's a lot of things in play with Caden Proctor. We'll see what happens over the next, week, but Bama is still recruiting him.
Okay, can you give us another name besides James Smith on the defensive front? Because we've got to have big uglies.
Yeah, I think the one additional name to watch during this early signing period, at least, is Jordan Hall. The defensive lineman from Jacksonville. People are picking Georgia, and maybe for good reason. That's kind of the school that's had the buzz for him. But Bama and Florida are still actively in play for him. But in terms of right now, outside of the two defensive linemen to know, I think are Smith and Jordan Hall. We'll see if anyone else pops up this last week. And again, that could be a spot too. I think Bama's going to end up landing James Smith. That's my prediction. But that could still also be a spot that Bama looks in the portal at, or another guy they push for in January at the high school level.
Thanks, Martin. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
All right, Pat. Have a good one. So we're joined with Hank South at 247 Sports and Bama Online Recruiting on the Alabama One hotline. Hey, there's three names at the DB position that Alabama is still pushing for: Desmond Rick, CJ Blocker, and Tyler Scott. It seems like we're going to get one of those three guys. Which one do you think is most likely to end up in this Alabama class?
Yeah, I would switch CJ Blocker with Damari Brown in terms of the three main DB targets right now. CJ Blocker actually recommitted to Utah the other day, so I think
Okay.
So I think he's going to stick in the Pac-12, but it's tough. I think you could really truly make an argument for all three of those guys to join the class. Maybe two out of the three. Obviously, is more likely. I think Bama's going to land one of them. But the two guys I'm watching closest right now are Ricks and Damari Brown. Ricks was on an official visit last weekend. The popular pick has been LSU for him, and maybe that's still the case. He's actually supposed to be back in Baton Rouge this weekend. But I think Bama's really given him something to think about. And then Damari Brown is another guy that he's been to Bama 3 times this year. Once for his official visit in the summer, and then he made his way back for 2 games this fall on his own dime. Nick Saban went to see him yesterday at American Heritage, which obviously has produced guys like Surtain and Earl Little. So definitely a Bama kind of program that they like to recruit. So I think those are the two to watch. Tyler Scott is also in play. That could end up being an Auburn Alabama race for him down the stretch. But I think Bama's positioning itself well to get at least one of those guys. I'd pick Brown at this point. I had him in my mock class recently, so I think he's probably the most likely. But again, all three of those guys are in play.
Hank, I got a 2-parter for you. If you're just tuning in and listen to Hank South 247 Sports Bama Online Recruiting, one is really more of a statement than the other one is about a quarterback position. I was looking at the most recent 5-star list, and I used to say this recruiting was going to hurt Nick Saban, but it may just dilute it to the point that he can still be better than everybody. 6 of the top 10 5-stars are related to a coach that either he recruited the kid or related to a coach that used to be on his staff or connected with him directly or indirectly, whether it's Texas or Oregon or Miami. So maybe it actually helps because Alabama's sitting at top because everybody's just picking 1 or 2 here and there, and he's getting 3 or 4. But the other side of that question is, man, I looked at if you look at the top 11 players, 5 of them are quarterbacks. And I really like our guy, Eli Holstein. Where does he, even though he's not as high, but where is he falling out? I've heard like his spark score, and I've heard all of these things, but what is it about his game that either has him ranked lower than he should be, or are we getting a sleeper in this guy when it comes to these rankings?
Yeah, I really think that's a great question because, he's really done everything he's supposed to do, to be more highly ranked. And he is highly ranked. He's a top 100 kid, but he's won the state championship in his classification. Like you said, he's put up this spark score. I'm not sure if it's like, he hasn't gone to many camps or as much exposure, outside of just his high school season, but on tape, he's done everything. He can throw it, he can pass. He literally won the state championship for Zachary High School as a junior on a QB on a last second QB draw or dive into the end zone. That's a good question. I think Bama has loved him for a long time. They recruited him prior to him committing to Texas A&M, and then they didn't stop recruiting him when he committed to Texas A&M. So I think that says something about how highly they coveted Eli Holstein. That is a good question. You look at it, compared to Arch Manning, in the state of Louisiana, Eli Holstein has been arguably a better prospect in terms of, just putting up, wins and overall numbers. It seems like I don't have Arch Manning's numbers in front of me, so I don't want to, just say that. But it seems like, if you're comparing those two, I don't think there's much difference, you add in the, championships and everything. So we'll see. I think Bama has a really talented quarterback in Holstein coming in. He's huge. He's got the size. He's got the arm. He's athletic. He can make plays with his legs. Josh Allen has been the comp thrown out with him.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
All right. X.
Yeah, and Hank, just to wrap things up, when we're talking the 2 5-star in-state guys, you said you feel like James Smith is coming. Do you feel the same with Quay Russaw? And also, Bama has offered Maryland tight end the transfer of C.J. Dippery. Where do we stand with those 2 guys, and then with Dippery from the portal?
Yeah. So I still am projecting James Smith, and he and Quay Russaw plan to go to the same school. So I think if you land Quay Russaw, I think you land James Smith. If you land James Smith, I think you land Quay Russaw. So it's Bama doesn't do package deals, but that's an exception when they're both actually top targets. So I think I would pick both of those guys to Bama today. Bama's going in to see them today. Auburn is trying to get them on a visit. We'll see, if anything changes over the next 6 days. But I think Bama's in a good spot there. We'll see. And then C.J. Dippery, the Maryland tight end transfer, got his offer from Bama last week on an official visit. He's supposed to go to Ohio State this weekend. He was originally planning to play in Maryland's bowl game despite being in the portal, but he's not going to do that anymore. I'm not sure what happened there, but he's not going to play. So I would think he's going to probably make a decision probably relatively soon after this weekend's visit to Ohio State. And, I think Bama's in a good spot there. But, again, a school like Ohio State, you want to wait till that visit's over to see what he's thinking after that. But, I think Bama's in a good spot for him, at least entering the weekend.
Awesome. Well, hey, we appreciate it, Hank, always coming in. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. BamaOnline.com, tons of recruiting news happening right now. Obviously, a lot of good it's signing day season, but, basketball obviously is really hot right now as well. So there's a lot of good basketball coverage as well. BamaOnline.com, and then my Twitter handle is @HankSouth247.
All right, man. @HankSouth247. @HankSouth247. Bama Online Recruiting. Best follow in recruiting. Thanks for being a part of the program each and every week, Hank. All right. Hey, let's go ahead and get ready to get we're gonna go straight through. X, I'll ask you this question. I don't know if you got to see the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game. You see the
bits and pieces of it.
Yeah. Did you find it interesting? We were just talking to Hank South and what's his name? I don't necessarily agree with this statement, but Kevin Smith, one of our regular followers, said, I think Peter Woods is the best player in the country. We need to be camped out at his house and church until signing day. I got to see him play a couple times this year. He played good, but nothing necessarily elite until, he seemed to play bigger in big games, and I didn't, necessarily see the 1 or 2 times I called him, I didn't necessarily see anything that made me go, okay, this is the best guy in the country. It's a guy I would want, but that doesn't mean he's not dominant. And the reason I bring those 2 guys up, X, is not those 2 guys, Peter Woods and another guy. Clemson's 2 commits, I don't know if you saw this, were the MVPs respectively for offense and defense in the Alabama All-Star game. So what was considered the 2 best players in the state, both going to Clemson. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I knew Peter Woods had won the defensive MVP. I didn't know Christopher Vizina won the offensive MVP. But yeah, you were talking about Eli Holstein and what he can do in his projection. Alabama didn't recruit Vizina very much, so he went somewhere that he felt like he would have a good opportunity one day, and so you can't blame him for that. Peter Woods was a big target for Alabama, but we just we just lost out, and I think it's partially due to our defensive scheme. You know, we talk about a guy like Keeley. They're trying to talk him in, or the other school saying he would end up being a defensive lineman. Well, Peter Woods is a 4-3 defensive end. We run a 3-4. You know, that you'd be asking him to put on another 25, 30 pounds, and I'm not sure that's something that he was willing to do.
Yeah, and don't, I hope nobody hear me saying that Peter Woods is not an elite talent that Alabama would not absolutely benefit from having. That's not what I was communicating with what I said. I think we definitely would want him if he changed, but like you said, I don't know that the way he plays fits Alabama as much. And I saw the kid from Briarwood play, and I don't think we necessarily missed out on him. I get why Alabama did not recruit him, and that's not knocking him. Alabama could go out and get better guys, and I think they got that in Eli Holstein. Well, hey, listen, we'll be back here tomorrow, and we'll keep talking. And Kevin Smith said Peter is playing at 280 right now. So in this new scheme, he could be, I guess, a defensive tackle, but he wants to be that defensive end guy, like the big number 11 up at Clemson, where he didn't have to change. He can put that hand in the dirt and rush on that tackle instead of getting up in all that junk. But either way, it's been a great day. We'll be back here tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, to talk more Alabama football. Alabama practice starts. Hey, we have not heard anything on Bryce Young and Will Anderson. Will they practice tomorrow? Will they play in the bowl game? We'll talk about that, as well as we'll talk about Alabama basketball and the biggest matchup of the year. I think Alabama has a chance to pop up into that top 1, 2, or 3 with the win this weekend. We'll talk about it right here on the Martin Houston Show. Thanks for being a part of it. Remember this: trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. Always acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. Roll Tide out there, everybody.
It's a celebration.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Thursday morning. Congressional lawmakers in Washington taking to the Senate floor to bid farewell to retiring Alabama senior U.S. Senator and Tuscaloosan Richard Shelby. They thanked him for his 51 years of service in the federal government. Shelby retires at the end of this year. He's